Sharpton has argued that the pro-life movement has hijacked the Bible and Jesus. How can the pro-life movement be in contradiction to the Bible and Jesus? I'll just call this Make It Make Sense Part 2. Can you make Al Sharpton make sense to me here?
Jason, I think it makes sense if you consider Al Sharpton's purpose, right? He uses the term or the title Reverend, but really what he is a political operative, right? Who has an air of some sort of, religious authority because he calls himself Reverend Al Sharpton. And when you consider what his political program is about, right, which is, from his perspective, some combination of black liberation, social justice, right, freeing the oppressed, but for him it's oppression by virtue or freedom from oppression of poverty and, of the like. Al Sharpton sees anything that gets in the way of the Democratic Party platform as a net negative for himself and his followers. So to the extent that the pro-life movement is associated with the right, because our politics is so divided that it literally is one party is for killing babies and the other one is not. They can dress it up in whatever euphemisms and cliches they'd like, but that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And Al Sharpton is a person who would prefer that he gets whatever else he has in his sort of political platform passed, voting rights, more funding for education and housing and healthcare, so on and so forth, than to do anything to address the issue of abortion, which, Jason, as you know, has a disproportionate effect in the black community. So Sharpton and his ilk are the type that see liquor ads in the black community, fried chicken spots, all of these things as existential threats to black people. But when Planned Parenthood plants roots and open up an abortion facility in the middle of Brooklyn, he sees that as something that will lead to black liberation. So I'm not surprised that he says it. What's interesting is that he says it on Morning Joe, because Joe Scarborough used to be known as a conservative. But I stopped watching Morning Joe a long time ago. The sense that I got is that if Joe wants to stay in good graces with his wife, he feels he needs to parrot certain talking points. So in that sense, Joe Scarborough is no different than many liberals, white and black, who've been henpecked by the women in their lives and now do not feel like they have the space or authority to speak with any type of moral clarity to any of these issues.
You called Al Sharpton a political operative, and I believe that in the truest sense. If you even go back to his problems with the IRS that seem to have never gotten straightened out, it makes me believe like, well, hold on. And again, you go back to there's allegations or reporting that he's an FBI informant and has been for a long time. And so I truly believe he is a prop. I think they call it a psyop or whatever. He's kept in a certain position by certain establishment forces, institutions, whatever, to play a role. And I believe that role is, Al, we're going to let you continue to call yourself a reverend and present yourself as some sort of spiritual figure, and you're going to help us move. And again, for the Democratic Party, so much of their base is tied to getting 90% of the black vote. And it's like when the Democratic Party goes completely secular, Al, we need you to stand there and be the symbol to black people that it's okay to abandon your biblical beliefs, your Christian views. It's okay to do that in subservience to the Democratic Party. That is his role in this society.
Absolutely, and it's been his role in this society for quite some time, actually, decades, I would argue. But the thing about it is that Al Sharpton, in that sense, has discipled many other members of the black clergy who operate in the same way, right? Whose entire campaign as it relates to their churches around quote unquote social justice or racial justice. And these are people, Jason, I sent you a video earlier of the Bishop William Murphy out of Chicago. All right, he's a very popular gospel singer, and it was a couple of clips on Woke Preacher Clips, and he was talking about how the vasectomy clinics are still open, and why don't all the men get vasectomies? And he was defending same-sex marriage and saying, well, if these people were really pro-life, they wouldn't allow 18-year-olds to buy guns, and all of the typical defenses. And at one point, he actually said that it's the church's job is to legislate morality, and the government's job is to legislate the law of God. Now, I'm not sure what distinction he makes between those two things, but he was basically trying to say it's not the government's job to legislate morality. So for him, abortion, again, like Al Sharpton, like many other pastors who focus on social justice, for him, abortion is a human right, right? And they see any infringement on these human rights as eventually an infringement on all human rights. And for pastors like that, that includes same-sex marriage, that includes anything having to do with the LGBT community. So all of those things come in that package. So I'm not surprised by it. It's unfortunate. William Murphy's church, I think, is about 20,000 people. And sometimes, I remember, Jason, I saw a book one time, I think it was at a church I was going to, that said, I'm paraphrasing, the title was, if God is so good, then why are all the black communities so messed up? It was something to that effect. And part of the reason is because a lot of black Christians, and this is not exclusive to the black community, but we're talking about Sharpton and leaders in his vein, a lot of black Christians are being poorly discipled. Al Sharpton could not exegete a text of scripture if you paid him $1 million. Even if his FBI handlers were feeding him the answers through his wire, he could not do it. So what ends up happening is that these people who read the text, Old Testament, New Testament, prophecy, gospel, epistles, have no idea what the text means. And that's why you see that some of the same issues that are going on in the world seem to be even more prevalent in some of these churches. And that's one of the things that William Murphy said. He said, all y'all church folk are hypocrites. You act like you're so holy, but y'all engaging in illegal sex, and y'all are sneaky and freaky. And one of my thoughts is, well, if you were discipling your people correctly and enacting church discipline for your members, as it says that you should do in the scripture, then maybe you wouldn't have some of these problems. But that's not what these churches are set up to do. So it really is a shame, because these are guys, in the William Murphy's case, the guys behind him were wearing shirts, I think, that said Iron Man, but these guys are really softies when it comes to the word.